further and deeper into the content today. So I'm going to pull up and share the screen. And like I said, as well as always, we will make sure to follow up with not only the PowerPoint, but additional resources that we make mention of too. Does that sound all right? Okay. So how to create a marketing plan. Before we can talk about marketing strategies and equipping people to be able to deliver good content for marketing, we really need to talk about what is the purpose of a marketing plan. The purpose is a marketing plan is a strategic roadmap. It's used to be able to organize, execute, and track marketing strategies over a given period of time. So remember when we talked about earlier this week, business plans, or if you weren't able to join our call for business plans, the business plan is a roadmap, it's a blueprint. It needs to be able to identify your company goals, but it also needs to be a document that lives with you, that moves with you, and tracks your progress over certain periods of time. It can include separate strategies for your marketing, but overall, it needs to be able to work towards the same business goals. Plans can contain one or more marketing strategies, as I mentioned, but because there's so many different platforms on which to communicate and reach people, those strategies may and potentially should look different. We'll talk about maximizing your strategies. So for me, when I do consulting, not just with Create Campaign, but also my for-profit company, CMO Collective, and people are asking, you know, what is a good way to approach my marketing? I always start with kind of this four-level process. It's a four-question process. The first one includes, what are your company's top business goals? And honestly, I would really keep it down to 3 or fewer. What are your company's top business goals? You know, people are like, what does that have to do with marketing? Again, when you are an entrepreneur or a business owner, everything that you do should address your business goals. If you do not address your business goals, then you're doing something extra, and that can resonate or result in wasted energy. So what are your company's top business goals? Secondly, what behaviors or actions do you need your clients or customers to take to support your top business goals? It's a behavior that we want to see with our clients. Perhaps it's calling us, scheduling an appointment, executing a contract with us. But what are the behaviors or actions we need our customers or clients to take? Once you identify those behaviors, then you can talk about, in the marketing perspective, what do you need to say to motivate that behavior to support your top business goals? What's the vocabulary? What's the vernacular? What's the motivating message that you can be able to put together to, again, impact your client's behavior? Finally, where do you need to place these messages that will motivate your client's behavior so that they can act in ways to support your business goals? See how all 4 of those link and are interconnected and they move with one another? That is the beginning of a good business marketing plan. It's aligned to top business goals. It speaks directly to behaviors and actions that we need for folks to take. It talks about where can people find our messages. That placement of where is important. Those are your channels. We want to be able to place our messages in ways that people will see it as a welcome opportunity to get closer to your product or service, as opposed to an interruption in their day. None of us want to be interrupted with marketing messages, right? But for those marketing messages that are helpful to us, then yes, we welcome the opportunity to run across those. All of these things help to execute a bigger and more comprehensive marketing plan. This is not just about a strong social media platform. This is about a comprehensive marketing plan. So when we think about our marketing channels, I'm going to de-emphasize us so we can see more of the content. When we think about our marketing channels and our content is key in marketing. Content is key. It is not about the gimmicks, the promotions even. It really is about that content that motivates that behavior. So marketing content can be specific to your company. When you're talking about launching a new business, Cynthia had that question, launching a new business, how do we get people to understand who our company is and how our company's products and services differ from other people? So marketing content can be centered around your company, brand, values, changes, launches. They can be centered around your product or your service. That's where we talk about the performance or key features and benefits. Remember, when we're talking about marketing messages and what we're sharing with our clients, I had mentioned this earlier in a previous session, but there is a difference between talking about our features as a company versus the benefits to our clients of our product and service. I'm going to say that again. Um, as a communications professional, for example, with a marketing company, it's great to be able to list all of the different things that my company can do to kind of inspire confidence when people select us versus another competitor. That's great, but that's for me. Yes, we need to be able to articulate what our company does and how we do it better or differently than others. But honestly, that side of the message is for me. I have to go a step further, and I have to be able to translate what I'm able to do as a company into a benefit for my customer or our client. What is the benefit of using CML Collective as opposed to another? What is the benefit, Nicole, of getting hand-dipped delicious strawberries from you as opposed to anyone else? What is that benefit? Corporate personalities or influencer style type strategies for marketing. There's something to be said when people associate your brand with popular people, with those movers and those shakers. That can be another content strategy for your marketing. Or you can also market promotion, special offers, inventory liquidation. However, I would caution placing an exorbitant number of marketing messages around sales strategies like that. Because first and foremost, anytime you do a promotion or a buy one, get one, what it does is it impacts your bottom line, okay? As business owners, we want to make a profit. And so we want to be able to not always discount away our services. When we discount away our services, that also does create some value perceptions that maybe our services are discounted. The quality of them is discounted if we're discounting our prices. So we need to be careful about that. Those promotions, they may be exciting for new clients. They may be interesting, or they may solicit the attention of a client that's not new, or I'm sorry, that is not an established client of yours, but it doesn't necessarily do much to help those who are already in, other than to say thank you. And when we think about our companies, we want to establish a culture of ongoing relationships with customers to engender customer loyalty, as opposed to just transactions between clients, right? So that's the content side. Channel side, if we're looking at more passive type advertising strategies, then think about it. We're driving down the road and we happen to see a billboard. There's nothing that I did. There was no necessarily, there's not a whole lot of research that goes into determining billboard placement other than traffic counts, intersection, and then kind of the geographics or the demographics of the area in which you place a billboard. But for me, driving, you didn't think of Christina per se in my car as I'm driving past that corner of the billboard. That's a little bit more passive. If there's an event, yes, there's a common bond that tied me as a client to that particular event where you might appear, but still not really as personal. As you move through, when we're talking about corporate partnerships, when we're talking about what you're doing on your websites, people have to come to your website. That's a little bit more personal. That's a little bit more engagement, right? On behalf of the client. If you're in my cell phone, oh yes, there's something that happened that allowed you to get this close to me in my cell phone, or even on my social media channels. But again, these are a few of the major marketing channels. Word of mouth is also one as well. So there's tons of different outlets. There's tons of things that you could say. That's why I emphasize of everything that you can do. You really need to look at what are going to be the most high impact avenues and channels that you will see a return on your investment, whether it's paid advertising or whether it's you taking that time, the energy investment to create a concept to then put it out in the public. Make sense? Okay, let's keep moving forward. So this is my final slide before I kick it off to our presenters. But when we're thinking about the impact of all the different marketing channels, digital marketing is huge these days. I mean, so many things happen digitally, whether it's in our emails, whether it's online, whether it's social media. So I wanted to include this, that when we're thinking about the funnels around our marketing content, then there's levels. You know, you plan, you look at reach, search engines, social networks, publishers, blogs. You look at the actions, conversions, and the engagement. And then I'm not going to read word for word this particular slide, but at each point, this particular graphic looks at where the buyer is and their decision to purchase your product or your service. And then what are some things you need to measure if you're at this particular stage in your digital marketing outreach, Okay, so we'll make sure that you guys get to cover that more when you follow up with the email on your own to kind of look through that. I am going to kick it over to Claudia. She's going to talk about, as important as digital marketing is, again, there's still some differences in between what happens in our email marketing versus what happens with our website marketing, text marketing, and social media marketing. So Claudia is going to give us an overview on social media marketing. Claudia, you can take it away.
Sure. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, everyone, for the space. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Well, social marketing, it's something that I'm really passionate about. One of the reasons is because when we are a minority, I think we have a huge opportunity to create and start relationships with our potential clients, which is different than when you pay for an advertisement in radio or TV, and you know people are just gonna listen it for a little bit. And those, I'm not saying those are not gonna work. You know, like what Christina was talking about. I think a lot of the times, depending on the campaign that you really want to manage or the products or services that you want to sell, you might want to have a little bit of different channels. But particularly talking about social media marketing, to me, having your page is just having another front store for you. So one of my advices is we have to take care of it. Like if you're in the store, like, so be very honest with ourselves and be like, okay, how comfortable am I feeling about posting things? If I'm not feeling comfortable yet, maybe I can start just little by little, you know, with 2, 3 posts a week. And then by learning some of the tools and the strategies that you can use, you know, to schedule some of those posts so you don't have to spend every day a lot of time on social media. So, I mean, there's really a lot to learn, but it's also um, a great way to start. And it's going to just give you the time to create that relationship with those clients. One of the things that I always consider when thinking about content is those are three things. Is I always think about a hook, a story, and then an offer. And I totally agree with Christina about the offer. The offer doesn't really have to be a discount. I mean, it has to be. It could be all the great things that you have to offer to them. That's an offer, right? Or another offer that I'm thinking about is like give them a perk. Like instead of like lowering your prices, be like, okay, if you buy, I don't know, like a dozen of those delicious strawberries with chocolate, then you're gonna get like a great card for you. You know, like a thank you card note or a note for a gift note or something like that. I mean, something that is not gonna be very expensive, but is bringing value to what you're doing. Another of the advices that I tell you, a lot of the times when we start in a business or when we already have a business, we are afraid to look into the competition, you know, just because, I mean, you know, they're competition. But I think it's great to, you know, like go around and check what they're doing. And you might find that you admire some of your own competition, you know, or you might learn that there's something that you really don't want to do like that person. And I know at the beginning it can be intimidating, and also it could be, um, if it's inspirational, you can kind of feel like, wait a minute, I'm kind of copying what that person is doing. But I guess once you start getting into the habit of start creating your own content, you can just use some of the what other people are doing just for inspiration, especially if we're not familiarized with how social media works. Um, some of the notes that I have here, the 4 most important things for me is to have an ideal client. One of the mistakes that I did at the beginning is I knew I had, or I thought I had a solution for many businesses, and I just wanted everyone to be on board. But then I learned over the time that I had to think on an ideal client. Who is my ideal client? Um, Spending a lot of time on bringing new clients is also is the most expensive way to and more time consuming than really taking care of the clients that you already have, and then finding through those clients which of those looks like your ideal client. So focusing on that and having that in mind. I've heard a story of a company that was very successful and they were very hard to do business with. and then this person went to them to try to sell them something, and everybody on that table from that company, they were like always questioning, like, I don't think Alexa's gonna like that. I don't think Alexa, do you think Alexa's gonna wear that? You know, things like that. So this person that went and sold that, was selling a product or a service to them, he was very intrigued as who Alexa was. And then finally at the end, he's like, well, everybody's just talking about Alexa. Can you just allow me to talk to her? And then everybody just look and laugh, and they said, well, Alexa's our ideal client. So everybody were talking and having like a same language around what the client wants from them. So that's one of my first advice. The other one is the strategy. Like Christina already talked a little bit about the strategy, and just creating different campaigns for different products and services is very helpful. By exercising and experimenting with different type of post, like if it's a meme, if it's a poll, if it's a video, then you're gonna start learning what engages your audience the most, because it's very different. I manage several accounts, and every audience is very different. So you have to, it's gonna take a little bit of time, a little bit of experimenting, but don't get frustrated, especially when we're starting. Just experiment and try whatever you think your ideal client is gonna like. And then eventually Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, they're gonna give you the insights that you need to move forward. Then on the third part, identify the right channels for your business. And again, Christina already talked about that. Who are following the most? I have been experimenting, like even within the Latino community, I have been experimenting on like Instagram and Facebook, and it took me time and a little bit of money. Again, fortunately, social media is not that expensive for you to experiment. You can start experimenting with $5, $20, whatever you want to do it. And then I found some interesting facts. For example, like Latinos in Oklahoma and Nebraska, they follow me the most on Instagram, while in Kansas, they're more on Facebook. So, things like that you're going to start learning. And then you can identify your channels, and then start being more consistent with the results that you're getting. And then at the end, like I mentioned at the beginning, don't forget customer service. Again, your business and social media, for me, is just another front. And if you start, you don't want to start like posting every day, and then the next week you forgot about it and you don't do it. So again, be honest with you. If you don't have the time, or if you think it's hard for you at the beginning, start with 2 or 3 posts, but just be consistent with that.
That's great. All right, that's fantastic advice, Claudia. I appreciate you taking us as deeply as you did through each of those. I do want to say, when we asked what people were hoping to get from this conversation, several had talked about what are the differences between the channels. So I'm going to pause before we jump into Instagram and just kind of talk about that. When we talk about the predominance of communication in social media, Facebook is still the big monster, right? Facebook has so many users, the numbers, and then the number of engaged users. I always say that even if Facebook is not your predominant strategy, it is still good to have some sort of Facebook presence. When we look at Instagram, I'm not going to say too much other than Instagram, it has its definite benefits, particularly among the international audience, as well as trending younger. It is a great place to display visually what your brand and your product looks like. And Keith is going to give us more information about that. When we look at Twitter, Twitter is really that fast pace, just it's happening right now. It's great for behind the scenes. It's great for, being at events or events that you're having as a business owner and being able to tweet out exactly what's there. It's the play-by-play platform. In terms of Snapchat, it's where the cool kids are, right? It's fun, it's animated, it's engaging. It lets your brand be positioned among the trendiest, but is it the most effective in terms of taking those trends and translating those into sales? Within each of these platforms, there are different features that can make your content move better beyond just awareness. So videos, for example, instead of just posting words or even pictures or infographics, being able to smartly use video to be able to help tell your brand story is important. even within Facebook and Instagram, the stories section, that is becoming a big trend. I know of one entrepreneur who doesn't even have content on her wall. She just does stories and she has a major following. And so being able to use things like that. LinkedIn, never ever underestimate the value of LinkedIn. That's where your professional presence is. If you're looking to do business to business type of marketing, then LinkedIn helps to differentiate you and your brand. I would say, and I have advised based on some research I've done, if you are a big company looking for employees and things of that nature, then LinkedIn is good to have as an organizational page, not just your own LinkedIn page. However, if you're a small, medium sized business and you're using LinkedIn by doing content updates, articles, just keeping your information fresh, doing recommendations, asking for recommendations, then LinkedIn is a very vibrant and robust tool for you as a professional and your brand, but you do not need to create a company profile on LinkedIn. That's helpful. We're going to move forward now to Keith Richardson. He's going to take us into a deeper dive into Instagram and understand some of these concepts that he'll be sharing with us regarding Instagram. They can also apply to other platforms as well. But Keith, you're up. Take us away.
Great. Thank you so much, Christina. Can you all hear me, Christina? Okay, great. Well, I just want to thank you so much for moderating this, putting this together. I've already learned so much. I'm glad to be included in this. And I hope we will help you guys in your growth in your business. So feel free to interrupt questions. And if not, I'm going to take a few minutes to go through each of these slides, and then we'll have questions at the end. So like Christina said, my name is Keith Richardson, and I am the head of #PrayerPause. It is something that I really did not intend to start as a viable brand to sell. It was kind of just an outlet as far as Instagram, a way for me to lead with my faith. I'm not a minister, I'm not a pastor, but I do have a strong faith background. And the tagline is a brand built on shared beliefs. So I wanted something that people could, like Christina mentioned, insert their prayer and their faith, whatever that means to them in their everyday life, and basically just put a lens on how people see things. And so the #PrayerPause was a name that just came to me. It stood out a little bit. I thought it was good for social media. It developed into a Instagram following, and then as well as a couple of books that I have published through Amazon, and they are all under the #PrayerPause series. The first one is An Imperfect Iteration, and the second one is Love from Above. And so all of that to say, as far as what I use Instagram for, it is marketing, it is putting your personality in your brand, is finding a way to connect with people and convert those connections, those relationships into actionable sales. So what my goal is with my #PrayerPause Instagram is to get people to go to my Amazon site and to purchase the books. And so it's basically a conversion funnel for that. And so what we'll go through, kind of give you an overview, is how much bandwidth do you have for your social media creation? The best strategy, in my opinion, is one that you can consistently keep up with. So if you can post once a day, that's great. If you can post 3 times a day, that's great. What can you do long-term, and what can you create enough content for long-term? Or you can either use user-generated content, which is in your kind of field and in your business field. So that's one thing to think about. Also, how visual is your product and service or brand? So Instagram, as we all know, is a very visual platform. There are over 1 billion users. And so I refer to Instagram as billboard in hand. If you walk around any common area, a mall, before the social distancing really happened, before they were closed, but Target, Walmart, what are people doing? They're staring down at their phones. And so what you've got is a chance to have people walking around with your message all day long if they're engaged in your content. And so for me, my content is basically short, inspirational sayings that I post, and black and white alternating. I think it is extremely important to specify your niche and to keep your Instagram as consistent as possible so people know what to expect. So if you are tuning into ESPN, you're probably not gonna wanna watch legal dramas. You're gonna wanna know sports. So people should know what they're tuning into your Instagram channel for, and they should know what to expect. As far as the genre, now the content should be unique, but they should know kind of what to expect. A couple key Instagram terms that we'll go through: insights, reach versus impressions. And so, for example, reach is how many unique people see your post. Impressions is how many times it's seen. So what that means is that 100 unique people may have seen your post, but 2 of those people may have seen it 8 times because they love your video about cooking, or they love to watch the construction that you've got on site, or they want to engage with it. So they may watch it over and over. So that's what those means. Likes and comments, you're familiar with those, but Instagram hid the likes as of last year, if you've noticed that. A lot of it was due to people feeling, I guess, left out from social media pressure. So they didn't want someone who was getting maybe 1 or 2 likes to feel bad compared to their friends, not so much for our business, but that's basically a personal thing Instagram did. And then the algorithm, which one thing you may want to keep in mind, no one is running Instagram at this point. And so it kind of seems like a weird statement, but the algorithm is bigger than the Instagram staff. And so we're going to talk about some ways to get your posts higher in the algorithm, but there is not a person now that's moderating content. It is too big, and they've set this in to have a digital eye. So when you're posting content, think about that, the rules, when to post. There's nobody looking at your post. It is going through all an optical eye. We'll go over hashtags, follower ratio, and then the aesthetic, and we'll get to that in some details. So we can move forward. Okay, so the purpose of my Instagram, what I love about it and what I talk about all day is that it really is a way to connect with new people, to engage with your customers, your followers, your relationships, and to also test things. I like to use Instagram as not only advertisement for my company, but also for a way to see what's resonating with people and what's not. And so if you have certain posts, don't so much worry about the likes. Those are kind of vanity metrics. Look at the impressions. Hopefully you have a business account set up by now through your Instagram. If you have not turned your Instagram to a business account, I recommend doing that. It's very easy, and you get all of your analytics and your insights. So you're going to want to see if you post about a new strawberry or a new dessert and no one's engaging with it, you may not want to carry that. And so this is a great way to really just test. So don't say, oh, I put up a post and I'm not getting likes. Look deeper into it as a marketing tool and figure out who you're talking to. And so whose story are you telling? Instagram's a story. I heard someone mention earlier that you want the marketing to be integrated into people's daily routines. Not, I think Christina mentioned that, not outside of it. And so you always want to be telling a story. And so that is, say I want to talk about something that's happening in recent events, I put that through a prayer lens and I talk about it on my Instagram. Or say that you have come up with a new dessert product or a new consulting thing that you're going to want to do. Let people into your story behind the scenes and they will feel that connection. And they want to say, you know what, I am following this company on Instagram, so I know a little bit more than the average person, and they feel really connected to you. So you want to know that. You want to know where you are in your story. Several of you mentioned that you're just launching your company. So you want to say, okay, well, I am starting this journey. Start with me. You want your followers to know where they are in that story with you, that you are helping me along on my journey, make them feel like an insider. If you are in the middle of your business and you're trying to just increase your brand awareness, your visibility, make sure that you tell them that, you know, we have been in existence for 5-10 years. We are just trying to increase our eligibility. We're trying to increase our knowledge, trying to increase our market value and share. Or if you are maybe at the end working a new project, celebrate with all of your clients, celebrate with the customers, tell them what you have achieved so far. I actually work for a nonprofit foundation as well. And as far as that Instagram account, I like to highlight what we've raised, what students we're helping. And so just keep that very specific. And so know where you are in your story and then just pick up from there and go forward. And then lastly on this slide, would you read your own content? A lot of time we post things that we like, and I was guilty of this. I would put things on social media that I was really passionate about, and then I had to realize, is that something that a person who's reading my book, are they excited about that? Or do I just want to show off the vanity metrics? So ask yourself, would you be interested in reading your content? And then if not, you might want to either get feedback or really just kind of figure out where, what direction you want to go in. Okay, next slide. Okay, so now we're going to break down a little bit into some growth and engagement strategies. One thing I will touch on that's not in here, but we'll get to, is Instagram TV. That's kind of a new platform that we'll get to about engagement. But Christina reminded me of that when she talked about the person who used content for stories and how engaging video are, how engaging stories are. And so that's something that's we might get ahead of Instagram TV we'll talk about. But the algorithm that I mentioned earlier, here are some statistics that you can just know. And then hopefully you can review later. So I don't know if you want to write these down or not, but Instagram's algorithm is extremely sensitive and picky about what content they have. So the optical eye can see the picture. They can zone out for racially charged terms, offensive terms, nudity. They're looking for things like that. I don't think anyone here has to worry about that, but just to keep in mind. As far as engagement strategies, you hear, how do I increase people looking at my brand? How do I get followers? That way, just in my opinion, look at it like, how can I get customers or people that are friends or family into my brand? So if you get 100 followers in a day, but none of them care about what you're talking about, it's worse than having 2 new followers who will actually purchase for you that you can convert. And so some of the strategies that you can use are when to post, what to post. Just an experience, 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. tend to be very, very good times to post. People are in their office for a couple hours and they get restless. They want to look through social media. The afternoon, they're after lunch around 2, they have that little lull and they're kind of tired and they want to look at social media again. So 10 and 2 are great ways to post. Across any platform tends to be that way. Also, if you're looking at your insights, it'll show you the exact times of when your followers are on. So pay attention to that, and the algorithm will push your post to the top, especially if they notice your followers are engaging with it. Some people will preach follow on follow, which means that you basically go to the search, look for people that are in your niche. So whether that's people that are in construction or consulting or desserts, wherever, and then you just follow, and then unfollow them. The reason being, or the hope, is that you're going to attract their attention, but not throw off your follower ratio. And so it's kind of a tricky thing. I don't recommend that because Instagram can tell that you're just following on following, but you can do that a maximum of 200 times per day before the Instagram algorithm catches on, if you want to try that. You can like 1,000 photos a day. I don't recommend getting anywhere near that, but that's when Instagram will shut you down at 1,000 likes per day. If you have an account that's less than 3 months old, you can do 700 as the most per day. And that's just going through people. Like for me, example, I have a lot of people that read inspirational posts, are looking for Christian literature, they're looking for things about prayer. And so those are kind of my niches, my hashtags that I follow. And so I can go through and like their photos, and they normally leads them to look at my profile. So I normally do about maybe 40 or 45 every hour or two, keep that number really low. That's one strategy. You can use content marketing, like Christina mentioned. Content is king. And so know what your product is and sell it in a way that's different. A lot of times people want to see how you're making things. They want to see you on that job site. They want to see you in that session. And whether it's just a photo, whether it's a story that you've recorded, just maybe a little minute snippet of you showing off your craft, whether that's you reading things. I posted videos of mine speaking out against things or for things that I saw on the news. And so you want to make sure that it's relevant to you, but that it is something that you would watch. And so that's a strategy that you want to make sure with. Influencer marketing is great. I heard mention also, if you want to reach out to people that are in your niche, see if you can maybe post some of their content. Maybe they'll reciprocate and they'll post your content. That's one way to do it. But you want to decide, how is your Instagram going to be? Are you going to create all of your content to control your brand, your feel, the look of it? Or are you going to let your people, repost? So for example, if you are selling a product, a book, a dessert, a coaching session, do you want people to use your hashtag and then you repost that? Or do you want to control the whole look and feel? So for mine, hashtag prayer pause, it's only alternating black and white. I write all the content, but in my stories, I will give shout outs to people that like my post. So for example, if I can see they like it, I might screenshot that and then repost it up in my story. And so I'm a little looser with that. But as far as the page, I want it to look a certain way. So those are a couple things that just in general, you can send 20 to 50 DMs per day, direct messages, if you want to reach out to everyone. Per post, if you want to tag people, let's say that you are collaborating and you want to reach out and tag people, you can do 20 tags per post. And these are all ways to get people to say, hey, this is my megaphone, look at this post. So those are just some statistics that you can have. You can also, like I said, write those down, look over this again. One thing I will want to stress, be aware of contests. I think they're great, but one example I'll use that's relevant. I don't know if you've heard of Draper James, but that is Reese Witherspoon's clothing brand. Yesterday, she got in some hot water because she created a contest for teachers to win free product. And best of intentions, I know that she meant to do this well, but so many people responded that it just overwhelmed her staff, and people were questioning her brand. They started saying, what is this giveaway? Is it legit? And so what my warning is to you is, be careful of contests. They can get out of hand, and just be sure you have the bandwidth to follow through, because as much as the contest can help you, the negative press she's receiving, unfortunately, she's going to have to spend time, money, energy getting out of that hole. And so that's something that she can do. I'm sure you're all familiar with her brand. She's going to be fine. But for me, I have to be aware of that because very small starting out. So that's one thing to be aware of. So that's then for that one. And then kind of just to wrap up, what does it all mean as far as insights and analytics? All of our goals for Instagram is to, any social media, is to get awareness of our brand and convert them into people that spend money with us, people that build a relationship with us. We're not looking for a quick sale, we're looking for relationships. And those people that tout our brand and that go out there and sing its praises. And so reach versus impressions, you want to look at in your analytics. Find out if your posts are getting to where you want to get to. And I saved the hashtag strategy for this area. You can post up to 30 hashtags per post. Hashtags are basically, think of them as little living rooms that people go in on Instagram. So for me, I use things like prayer, inspiration. You can use things like food, construction, consulting, entrepreneurship. Think about your 30. I use all 30 all the time. People have different insights on that, but I put them in the first comment underneath the post. So I don't put them in the actual caption. I hide them in the comment. They still pull, but they're not so much in your face. So it looks a little sleeker. That will get people in front of your post. That talks about like the getting you like in front of the people that actually buy your product and making sure you're specializing and tailoring your post. Last formula I'll leave you with is the engagement rate formula. If you're not familiar with that, basically engagement rate is showing how many people interact with your posts, how many people, let's see where did I put that? Here it is. How many people are actually reading it? They're not just scrolling past it. So what we want is a high engagement rate. If 1,000 people just scroll past your post and it counts it, they're probably not going to actually be fans of your brand. And so the engagement rate is the number of likes plus the number of comments per post divided by your number of followers times 100. And I'll say that one more time. The engagement rate per post is the number of likes and comments. Add those together, divide them by your total number of followers, and then multiply it times 100. And what this is good for is when you build your brand, you can show this to sponsors and ads, and they will see how engaged your audience is. And hopefully you can start to sell and become an influencer yourself, not just use the influencer. So that's kind of briefly over my slides. I will turn it over to Christina for questions. And thank you guys so much.
That's fantastic. See why I'm a fan and why he's consulting me as well. Fantastic, actionable information. So to wrap up, I know that we have some questions and we're going to get to that. After I just say this, when we think about our marketing plan, it's about congruence. It needs to be aligned with our goals. It's about content and it is about consistency. I'm going to stop this share. We're going to go into our chat and our questions. And in the chat, we have a question from Nicole. How do you post video content without giving all your tips and tricks away?
Okay, so, oh yeah, okay. That's a great question. So you basically, one example that I use is Kerry Washington. And the reason I use her and different celebrities is because I think she nails the social media game and she gives away a lot without actually giving away anything. And so she is a master of giving interviews, Instagram posts, Facebook posts, making you feel like you know her. And then you walk away saying, wait a minute, I don't really know much. And so what you want to do is you want to figure out what is proprietary, what are my secrets, and you put those in a box and you write it down, and you shouldn't have too many of them, but what are things that you will never ever share, and then box those away. And then what you want to talk about is, like, say for example, you want to show what you're baking or what you're making, but you don't want to give the recipe away. You might just want to sit there and show the product and then talk about maybe one special ingredient that you have in that. So you're going to want to tell a story, like say it's your grandmother's recipe, or say it's one you found out. Tell them a folksy kind of story, but you don't have to tell them that you put in sugar, eggs, this and that, because they might take that, use it. But while you're making that, figure out the content. That's great content for YouTube. It's great content for the Instagram TV, which gives you 10 minutes to do something. And what I like about Instagram TV is that they will let you post a snippet of the video in your feed, and people can click on that and watch the whole thing. And so it creates kind of like a commercial for you. So I would figure out what your top secrets are. If it's something that you say, I consult, I only say this with paid consultation, just don't talk about that, but try to find that balance between letting them into your world, but not so much giving away your secrets. So I hope that kind of helps.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
That's really good. What other questions do we have? Otherwise, I'd like to give a couple of examples for our consultants as well from the consulting sphere, since we have them on too. Okay, so I'll begin. When we're looking at our service-based industries, it can be a little bit more challenging on how to create dynamic content. However, if Office Depot can make animations on paper clips to let people know that the fall school supply drive is coming and make the paper clips appear to be leaves falling, we can figure out how to be engaging and interactive with our content. There's research out there that does share that when you have a picture of a person in your particular post, that does perform a little bit better than just basic backgrounds or things of that nature. So you have to ask yourself, how much of yourself is your brand? Are you your brand? And if you are, then being able to have you in action, talking with clients, or have you in action at meetings to show people that you are out and about, you're engaging with your audience. That's very key. When we talk about as well highly charged consulting topics such as race and equity, I mean, playing against the backdrop of what is happening today and how you are planning to speak to that and what tools that you can help give people to be able to maneuver through the controversial context of today. Not only are you showcasing yourself in these types of posts, but also going back to that features versus benefits, you're pulling people into what they can expect in an engagement with you, using, again, what's on everyone's mind. Use the calendar as well. The calendar is our friend. There's so many national pancake days, teacher appreciations, things of that nature, not just the big holidays, but using your content calendar and using the regular calendar as well to be able to help generate content. Claudia, do you want to offer any recommendations you have as a service company about how to make service-based companies social media presence? It's pretty spot on.
Sure, I use a lot the calendar, like you say, but one of the things that I do is just for me to not give away all my tips and stuff like somebody was asking and like Kit was sharing. What I do is I look for content that is related to what I do. For example, in my case, like the Hispanic, numbers and data and statistics about the Hispanic market. That's something that I don't necessarily kind of have or like serve. I'm not a researcher, but I read a lot of those magazines for my own learning, and then I just grab some statistics and data. So one of my advices would be like, think about your audience and what do they care about, and then focus on one of those areas that they think that they care about, and then start like with, I don't know, tips. And I know I'm gonna tap into like a product space, but for example, for like a cake shop, like maybe I don't want to give away my recipes, but I can, every Friday I can talk about tips for the amazing party, things like, so just like go around what it's, and I think Kate was talking about it earlier, like make sure that you talk to your clients, like if they're gonna come and visit your cake place Facebook page, they're probably going to be expecting, they're probably looking also for music, they're looking for DJs, they're looking for, so another thing that has worked for me a lot is also collaborate with others who are in the same industry with you, because when you collaborate and tag other people who are going to like kind of share the same clients, you're going to bring their audience to your page, and then you can also kind of share your audience with the other person's Facebook or social media.
That's fantastic. That cross-pollination of audiences is important. When I look to LaShonda, how you had introduced your company doing community development and stakeholder engagement, as people are looking at maximizing their quality of life, there's a number of issues that come into play with that you would be guiding and directing conversations around. So how to be able to have a voice, how to be able to lend your voice to make change, aspirations, those types of themes can really draw in people. If your clientele includes other businesses, they are specifically contracting with you to be able to get the public's voice. So you being able to stand on your expertise by showing that you're engaged, you're committed, the value of people's voices. Those are some of the things that you can begin to craft some strong messages around. When we talk about general contractors on social media, your social media may slant towards past performance, capability, quality, excellence. Those types of themes in your social media, when people are going to, and your communication, your marketing, when people are going to your website, for example, they're going to want to see who has been past clients of yours because of that word of mouth referrals. They want to be able to see demonstrated excellence in your capability. They're going to want to see licenses. They're going to want to see credentials. All of those things are important in your marketing plan. Again, back to the race and equity piece. I mean, you have the social justice piece of this, you have the education piece of this, you have a theme related to just personal liberty, personal tolerance, civil rights. I mean, you pick what we call a content container, and the themes that fit inside of your content container, then you begin to look at the different types of content pieces that you can put out around those particular themes. Because race and equity, and even that community engagement piece, stakeholder engagement, it can include some more maybe controversial or tough topics. Don't just speak on something because everyone else is. It needs to be able to be filtered through your brand perspective, your content and your capability perspective, and to see if it fits inside your content container. That way you are building messages across multiple platforms that hit your brand. It's aligned with what you want your brand perspective to be, but also aligns with your company goals. Again, social media and digital media is one way, but never overestimate or overlook some of those old-fashioned ways as well. Direct mailers. Yes, people get all kinds of junk mail, but again, if you've done your research, then a direct mail piece could just be seen as an invitation to come purchase, as opposed to, I'm tossing this, what are they doing sending this to me? That goes to your market research. All of these things work together towards making that comprehensive marketing plan. Any final questions before we push forward to our conclusion? Okay. As always, it's a lot. We went through a lot very, very quickly. Any number of these slides could have been their own particular session, and we do recognize that. So if you're looking for additional help, then we encourage you to check out local resources in the Wichita area, and even some of these are national. So SCORE Mentors, they're actually a national group that provides free business consulting in preparation. They are available across the country, but in Wichita is Wichita SCORE. The Kansas Small Business Development Center is part of America's Small Business Development Center. So again, multiple locations across the country. ABNC Bilingual, Claudia is more than happy to work locally with folks as well. If you're particularly interested in connecting with the Hispanic Latino market, even if you don't have the language capabilities inside of your company, if you have the wish, the will, and the desire to branch out, then there's companies like Claudia's who can assist as well. And then Keith, I didn't put you on the slide, but I'm sure if people ask you questions or want to connect with you, that you will be more than happy to assist with them. So I'll include your information in the follow-up email that we give to folks too. Any final comments from you, Keith, and then we'll ask Claudia.
No, I appreciate the time, and just something that came to me quickly. As far as the diversity and the service-based industries, I would recommend doing live customer reviews for your service, kind of that content, posting that. And then I saw on a website that they use different hand color emojis. So I mean, it was a small way, but it made me feel included in the HIMSS shaping website. So maybe just use things like that where they had all different kind of hands emojis. So that's it.
That's great. Claudia, any final words? Oh no, you must be getting closer to Wichita. You're breaking up.
It's for me.
Oh no.
All that was asking about the videos I want to.
Claudia, you're going in and out. So I'll include your follow-up message in the follow-up email. You're going in and out. We can't hear you. The beauties of Zoom. So with that being said, again, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for participating with us today. We'll follow up in a follow-up email, and we're going to go ahead and wrap to conclude.
Videos, but recently I have
Claudia, I love you, but we can't hear you.
Sharing some, if you want to take a look there.
Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to stop the recording now. You all have a good one.